You have been working toward this moment for years. The promotion is finally within reach. Your name is on the shortlist. Your boss has all but confirmed it. And then somehow, you miss the deadline on the one project that matters most. You show up late to the interview. You say the wrong thing in the meeting. And standing in the aftermath, staring at the rubble of your own making, a quiet voice whispers, "Why do I keep doing this to myself?" If that question has ever echoed through your mind, you are not alone, and you are exactly where you need to be right now. Because today, we are going to pull back the curtain on one of the most misunderstood patterns in human behavior. We are going to explore the silent enemy that lives inside so many of us, the one that shows up right when success is within reach and pulls the rug out from under our feet. We are going to understand why your own mind sometimes seems to work against you, and more importantly, what you can do about it. This is not about blame. This is about understanding. And by the end of this, something might shift in the way you see yourself. Let us begin with a strange truth that most people never stop to consider. The human brain, for all its brilliance, is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you safe. And sometimes, those two goals are in direct conflict with each other. Think about it this way. Your brain is like an ancient security system, one that was built thousands of years ago, when survival meant avoiding predators and staying close to the tribe. That system worked beautifully for our ancestors. The problem is, it never got an upgrade. So now, in a world where the threats are no longer saber-toothed tigers, but job interviews and romantic vulnerability, your brain still responds the same way. It treats unfamiliar territory as dangerous territory. And success, real success, is often the most unfamiliar territory of all. This is where self-sabotage begins, not with weakness, not with failure, but with a primitive part of your brain trying desperately to protect you from something it does not understand. Consider for a moment what happens when you are on the verge of getting something you have always wanted. A new relationship, a creative breakthrough, financial stability. In those moments, something strange often happens. Your heart rate increases, your thoughts become scattered. You start to feel a creeping sense of dread, even though nothing has gone wrong yet. This is your nervous system responding to change, any change, as if it were a threat. And when your brain perceives a threat, it will do almost anything to return you to familiar ground, even if that familiar ground is misery. This brings us to a concept that changes the way many people understand their own behavior. It is called the upper limit problem, and it was first described by psychologist Gay Hendricks. The idea is simple but profound. Each of us has an internal thermostat for how much happiness, success, and love we believe we deserve. When we start to exceed that limit, when life begins to go better than our subconscious believes it should, we unconsciously find ways to bring ourselves back down. Maybe you have experienced this. Things are going well in a relationship, better than they have ever gone before. And then you pick a fight over something small, or you withdraw emotionally for no clear reason, or you find yourself suddenly attracted to someone else. These are not random events. They are the thermostat kicking in, trying to return you to what feels normal. The same pattern shows up in careers, in creative pursuits, in health and finances. Whenever we begin to rise above our internal set point, the saboteur awakens. But here is the question that matters most. Where does this set point come from? Why do some people seem to have a high tolerance for joy, while others cannot seem to accept even basic good fortune without ruining it? The answer, almost always, lies in the past. Let us look at how this often develops. Consider a child growing up in a home where love is conditional, where praise is rare and criticism is constant. That child learns at a level deeper than words that they are not worthy of good things. They learn that happiness is temporary and probably a trick. They learn that the other shoe is always about to drop. Now fast forward 20 or 30 years. That child is an adult. They have built a successful career. They have found a loving partner. From the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, there is still that young part of them, frozen in time, waiting for the punishment that always came after the good moments. And so, without realizing it, they create the punishment themselves. They create the failure before someone else can do it to them. At least this way, they are in control. This is not conscious. This is not a choice in the way we usually think about choices. It is more like a program running in the background, written in a language we cannot read, executing commands we never approved. Another common root of self-sabotage is what we might call the fear of outshining. Many people, especially those who grew up in families where their success triggered jealousy or resentment, learn to dim their own light. They learn that being too successful, too happy, too visible is dangerous. It threatens the people they love. It makes them a target. And so they develop an unconscious habit of holding back, of making themselves smaller, of failing just enough to stay safe. This is particularly common among people who were parentified as children, those who had to take care of emotionally immature parents or younger siblings. For these individuals, success can feel like betrayal. If I thrive, the logic goes, who will take care of them? Who will need me? And underneath that, an even more frightening question. If I am not the caretaker, who am I? There is also the fear that success will change us in ways we do not want to be changed, that we will become someone we do not recognize, that the people who loved us when we were struggling will not love us anymore when we are thriving. This fear is rarely spoken aloud, but it runs deep. It whispers that the price of success is too high, that it is better to stay small and familiar than to grow into someone unknown. Now let us look at something that might seem counterintuitive at first. Many people are more afraid of success than they are of failure. This sounds strange until you really think about it. Failure is familiar. We know what it feels like. We know how to handle it. We have practiced it. Success, on the other hand, is unknown, and the unknown, to the ancient part of our brain, is always dangerous. Consider what success actually requires. It requires you to be visible, to be judged, to maintain a new level of performance, to deal with new pressures and new expectations. It requires you to leave behind the identity you have built around your struggles. And for many people, that identity is the only one they know. Think about how often we define ourselves by our problems. I am someone who struggles with money. I am someone who cannot find the right relationship. I am someone who never finishes what they start. These statements, as painful as they are, also provide a strange kind of comfort. They tell us who we are. They make the world predictable, and giving them up, even for something better, can feel like dying. This is why so many people unconsciously sabotage themselves right at the moment of breakthrough, not because they are weak or broken, but because they are facing a kind of death, the death of their old self, the death of the story they have been telling. And the brain, which is designed above all else to keep the self intact, will do almost anything to prevent that death, even if it means destroying the very thing that would make them happy. Let us explore how this plays out in real life. Consider the pattern we often see in relationships. Someone has been hurt before, perhaps many times, They have built walls around their heart. And then they meet someone good, someone kind, someone who actually shows up. At first, everything is wonderful. The conversations flow easily. The silences are comfortable. There is a sense, perhaps for the first time, that this could actually work. But slowly, doubt begins to creep in. It starts as a whisper. Are they really this kind? What are they hiding? When will the mask slip? The person who was hurt before cannot quite believe that goodness can be trusted. So they start looking for evidence that this person will hurt them too. They become hypersensitive to small slights. A delayed text message becomes proof of abandonment. A distracted evening becomes evidence of lost interest. They read betrayal into innocent moments. Then comes the testing phase. They test the relationship, pushing to see how much the other person can take. They create conflict to see if the other person will stay. They withdraw to see if they will be pursued. They make unreasonable demands to see if they will be met. And eventually, often without realizing what they are doing, they push so hard that the relationship breaks. The strange thing is, there is often a moment of relief when it ends. Not happiness exactly, but the release of tension. The waiting is over. The other shoe has finally dropped. Now they can stop holding their breath. Afterward, they tell themselves the story they always knew was true. People cannot be trusted. Love does not last. I am better off alone. The sabotage has confirmed the belief that created it in the first place. The world view remains intact, and the cycle continues, ready to repeat with the next person who gets close enough to matter. We see similar patterns in careers. Someone works hard for years, building toward a goal. They sacrifice weekends and early mornings. They develop skills, build relationships, prove themselves over and over again. And then, just as they are about to reach it, they self-destruct. They make a careless mistake on a project that mattered. They burn a bridge with someone who had the power to help them. They quit without a plan, or they do something so out of character that others wonder what happened to them. Looking back, they cannot explain why they did it. It just happened, they say. I do not know what came over me. But of course it did not just happen. Something inside them was terrified of what lay on the other side of success. The new responsibilities, the higher expectations, the loss of the underdog identity they had worn for so long, and that something found a way to pull them back to familiar ground, even if that ground was made of disappointment. The same dynamic appears in health and wellness. Someone starts a new exercise routine. For the first few weeks, they are consistent. They feel stronger than they have in years. Their energy improves. Their mood lifts. People start to notice. And then, almost without warning, they stop. They skip one day, then another. The gym membership goes unused. The running shoes gather, dust in the closet. When asked what happened, they say life got busy. There was not enough time. Other priorities took over. But really, something deeper was at play. They were approaching a version of themselves they did not recognize. A healthier, more vibrant, more alive version. And some part of them could not tolerate the unfamiliarity of that stranger in the mirror. So they returned to the body and the habits they knew, even if those habits were slowly eroding their well-being. There is another form of self-sabotage that is worth examining. One that is more subtle, but equally destructive. It is the sabotage of perfectionism. The perfectionist does not destroy their chances through dramatic failure. They destroy them through infinite delay. The project is never quite ready. The timing is never quite right. There is always one more thing to fix, one more improvement to make before they can share their work with the world. Perfectionism looks like high standards. It feels like conscientiousness. But underneath, it is often fear wearing a mask. Fear of being judged. Fear of being found lacking. Fear that if people see the real work, the imperfect work, they will see through to the imperfect person who made it. And so the perfectionist keeps polishing and polishing, using their high standards as a shield against the vulnerability of ever actually finishing anything. This brings us to a crucial turning point. Understanding why we sabotage ourselves is important, but it is not enough. The real question is, what do we do about it? The first step, and perhaps the most important one, is to move from self-judgment to self-observation. Most people, when they catch themselves in an act of self-sabotage, respond with harsh criticism. What is wrong with me? Why do I always do this? I am such a failure. But this response, as understandable as it is, only makes things worse. It activates the shame that drives the sabotage in the first place. It confirms the belief that you are broken, unworthy, incapable of change. A different approach is to become curious instead of critical. When you notice yourself doing something that undermines your own well-being, pause, take a breath, and ask, with genuine interest, what is this trying to protect me from? What does this part of me believe will happen if I succeed? This shift from judgment to curiosity is transformative. It allows you to see the saboteur not as an enemy, but as a misguided protector. A part of you that learned long ago that safety required staying small. A part that never got the message that you have grown up now, that the old dangers are no longer present, that you can handle what comes next. The second step is to expand your window of tolerance for positive emotions. This might sound strange. We usually think of emotional regulation in terms of handling difficult feelings, but many people also struggle to tolerate joy, love, success, and peace. When these feelings arise, they feel unsafe. The body does not know what to do with them, and so it finds ways to return to the more familiar territory of struggle. You can begin to change this by practicing staying present when good things happen. When someone gives you a compliment, resist the urge to deflect or minimize, just let it land. When you accomplish something meaningful, take a moment to actually feel the satisfaction instead of immediately moving on to the next task. When you experience a moment of genuine peace, notice your impulse to fill it with worry or activity, and choose instead to stay in the quiet. These are small practices, but over time, they rewire the nervous system. They teach the body that positive emotions are safe. They expand the internal thermostat, making room for more goodness than you were previously able to hold. The third step is to become aware of your sabotage patterns before they run to completion. Everyone has signature moves. Some people procrastinate. Some pick fights. Some make impulsive decisions. Some withdraw into isolation. Some create drama where none existed. The specific pattern matters less than your ability to recognize it. Once you know your pattern, you can begin to catch yourself earlier in the sequence. At first, you might only notice after the damage is done. That is okay. The awareness itself is progress. Over time, you will start to catch yourself in the middle, then at the beginning, and eventually, you will feel the impulse arise and be able to make a different choice. The fourth step is to grieve what the sabotage was trying to prevent you from losing. This might be the most overlooked part of the healing process. Remember, self-sabotage is almost always an attempt to hold on to something, an identity, a relationship, a sense of safety, a familiar pain that has become like an old friend. To truly let go of the sabotage pattern, you often have to grieve what you are leaving behind. This might mean grieving the identity of the struggler, the one who always has problems, the one who never quite makes it. As painful as that identity is, it is also yours. You built your life around it. Letting it go is a kind of loss. Or it might mean grieving the hope that your parents will finally see you differently if you just stay small enough. Or grieving the belief that you can keep yourself safe by never fully showing up. Grief is not weakness. It is the doorway to freedom. When we allow ourselves to feel the sadness of what we are releasing, we make space for something new to take its place. The fifth step is perhaps the most tender of all. It is learning to befriend the part of you that sabotages. Not to fight it, not to banish it, but to turn toward it with the same compassion you would offer a frightened child. Because that is often exactly what it is. A young part of you, frozen at the age when it learned that success was dangerous, that visibility meant pain, that good things do not last. This part has been with you for a long time now. It has been running the same program, following the same logic, trying to solve a problem that no longer exists in the same way. This part does not need to be defeated. It needs to be updated. It needs to learn through experience that you are no longer that small, that you have resources now you did not have then, that you can handle the challenges that come with growth, that the world has changed, even if the fear has not caught up yet. This is slow work. It does not happen in a single conversation or a single insight. It happens through 1,000 small moments of choosing differently, of staying present when you want to flee, of speaking kindly to yourself when the old voice of criticism rises up, of taking the risk even when part of you is screaming to stay safe. And here is what you will discover if you stay with this long enough. The saboteur is not the enemy. It is simply the part of you that never learned there was another way. And as you grow, as you prove through your actions that safety and success can coexist, that part grows with you. It softens. It relaxes its grip. It begins to trust that you have this, that you are capable of holding more than you ever believed possible. There is a kind of tenderness in this realization. The recognition that you have been fighting yourself all these years, and that the fight was never necessary. That the two sides of you, the one who wants to expand and the one who is terrified of change, are both trying to take care of you in their own way. The path forward is not about silencing one side. It is about integration, about creating enough safety within yourself that all parts can come along for the journey, about growing a self large enough to hold both the fear and the longing, the doubt and the dream. This is not easy work, but it is the most important work any of us can do, because the alternative is to spend a lifetime at war with yourself, to keep building things only to tear them down, to keep approaching happiness only to turn away at the last moment. You deserve better than that, not because you have earned it, not because you have proven yourself worthy, but simply because you exist, because you are here asking these questions, seeking to understand. That is enough. That has always been enough. So if you find yourself standing once again at the edge of something good, feeling that familiar urge to run or ruin or retreat, try something different. Take a breath, place a hand on your heart, and say to that frightened part of yourself, I know you are trying to protect me, but I am safe now. We are safe, and we are ready to receive what is coming. You might not believe it at first. That is okay. Say it anyway. The body learns through repetition, through practice, through 1,000 small acts of faith. And one day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will discover that the words have become true, that the enemy within has become an ally, that you have made peace with yourself at last. That is what waits on the other side of self-sabotage. Not perfection, not the absence of fear, but a deeper relationship with yourself, a willingness to stay present for all of it, the good and the hard and everything in between. And that ultimately is what it means to stop sabotaging your own happiness. It means choosing to stay, to show up, to keep your heart open even when it is terrifying, to trust that you are capable of holding whatever comes next. You are. You always have been. And if any of this has spoken to something in you today, if you have recognized yourself in these words, I invite you to do something simple. Take a moment to reflect on where in your life you might be holding yourself back. What good thing are you afraid to receive? What success are you unconsciously avoiding? And what might become possible if you stopped? If you found this exploration meaningful, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give another person is the permission to see themselves clearly. And if you want to continue this conversation, if you want to go deeper into the psychology of how we become who we are, make sure you subscribe and join us for the next one. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. And remember, the part of you that wants to grow is stronger than the part that wants to stay safe. It just needs you to believe in it. Until next time.